Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, Killer Santa time is here. That's right. We're talking about 1972's Tales from the Crypt on Kill by Kill Bite Size. Well, greetings and salutations, Internet. It's your old pal, Patrick Hamilton, coming to you once again from a sleepy little town in the English countryside. This is the Kill by Kill podcast, where usually we're talking about a whole horror movie's list of characters and how they die and the weird things they wear and do. But on our off weeks, we talk about one segment of a horror anthology, just drill down into that. And this week we've chosen from 1972's Tales from the Crypt, this particular segment, which is And All Through the House, I think is what it's called.
Yes.
And of course, there's only one person I trust that if she's going to murder me, she'll at least close the motherfucking curtains first. The one, the only, Gina Radcliffe. How are you doing today, Gina?
And I'll make sure to carefully scoop up a glass of blood.
A goblet of blood.
To pour it around your head, so that when I make it look like you've drunkenly fallen down the stairs, that the blood is properly pooled where it should be.
I mean, you want to highlight a time where someone thought, the way I'm going to get away with this murder is I'm going to grab myself a goblet and a butter knife, and I'm just going to ladle some blood off of a white fake fur carpet, and no one will catch me. The wild thing is, no one would have caught her, and this would not have put her away. Her DNA all over this shit, the transference of blood places, her lazy ass setup of like, oh, he fell down the stairs going to the basement or whatever. Man alive, she's kind of good and bad at murder at the same time.
Well, we should before we go any further, we should mention that probably people are, our audience is much more familiar with the remake of this,
right? Yeah.
For the HBO reboot of Tales from the Crypt. It was actually, I believe, it was the premiere episode.
Yes, I think they wanted to establish the tone of what the show is going to be by remaking this particular segment from the original film.
Yeah, and it's the main difference. I actually did not remember with the remake this framing device of a woman trying to cover up the murder of her husband, because the remake spends much more time on, as Patrick referred to, a cat and mouse game between the female protagonist and the evil Santa Claus, who is played by Larry Drake very memorably in the remake. Here, the evil Santa Claus is kind of a vague secondary character who only shows up a couple times and the very end of the episode. So it's more of her. It's more of a suspense thriller.
Yes.
Whereas the remake is more straight horror.
Yeah. The ticking clock of this particular segment has more to do with the fact that she is chosen. And this really comes down to Joan Collins's character's planning. She's not a planner. No. She has opted, for whatever reason, to murder her husband, A, on Christmas Eve for some reason. Yeah. And B, while their child is in the house. And awake. That's the wild motherfucker.
And this is not a like a baby. This kid's maybe like 8 or 9 years old. Like young enough to still believe in Santa Claus, but old enough to be conscious and aware of what's happening.
Yes. And has a voice that I think can cut through stainless steel.
She's a real mommy.
And she gets a particular tone that sonically will disrupt your nervous system. You're like,
this child is basically rejected from getting a tour of Willy Wonka's chocolate factory.
Yeah. Yes. Well, this is a household that obviously has quite a few problems going into it. First and foremost, you have a rather elderly gentleman who is married to a young Joan Collins, who not only is sexy, but has a fair amount of upper body strength. The fact that she can drag dead bodies across an entire fucking house. Why not call him over to where the stairs are and crank his ass right then and there and push him down the fucking stairs?
Yeah, he's pretty elderly. It's not going to take a lot.
No.
And instead she like uses this fireplace machete. It's the only way I can describe it.
Yeah, I think that's a great way to describe it, actually. I mean,
I guess you do. I guess you. I very briefly lived in a home that had a fireplace, but we only had like a very basic tools. I guess the machete is supposed to be so you can cut the wood down.
I mean, ultimately, what you really want with a poker, and I say this as a former Boy Scout who's called upon to create fires very often. We have a gas fireplace and we use it decoratively here, but still, ultimately, with any wood burning fireplace, you want to create spaces within the wood where those logs are close enough to one another that one heat source is contributing to the other, but allows space for oxygen, because one of the things that feeds a fire is oxygen. So you want to create a certain amount of space between them, almost creating a oven-like structure within your logs, so it's continuously burning. So when that fuel of the wood burns out, you can put more logs on top of it, and the hot coals of the previous logs will catch that new log of wood on fire. This has been Fireplace Talk on Kill
by Kill, where you learn something new every episode.
I would not suggest anyone do the home decorating trick that has gone on here. Like, I love the fireplace machete and the shiny silver implements on display, but I would never, in my wildest fucking dreams, have a white painted fireplace, Gina. Holy shit, you gotta have a lot of money to go, let's paint the fireplace again. We used it last night.
Yeah, this is one of those houses where, like, you didn't expect to have children when you decorated this house.
No.
Because they've got the white shag carpet, like perfect to hide cocaine in.
Yeah.
Everything is white and chrome. It doesn't look particularly inviting.
No.
But at the same time, like, I think it's in keeping with this, trophy wife character.
Yeah.
I just want to take a moment to, I do not think that our younger audience,
sure,
whoever that might be, our younger audience being under 35, can really appreciate Joan Collins.
Yeah.
She was a huge figure in 70s and 80s pop culture, known mostly for the fact that she has never played any character that wasn't a conniving villainess.
Right.
Yeah. Like, she, when I was a kid, she kind of reminded me of I always thought she should have played some fairy tales wicked stepmother.
Sure.
Because she has that kind of look.
Yes.
You're never going to see her play like an ordinary housewife. She just always looks, if she didn't exist, her sister Jackie Collins would have had to invent her.
Very true.
She just looks very haughty. She's always kind of sneering, and she's like perfectly cast as a woman who just thinks nothing of just bopping her elderly husband over the head with a fireplace machete on Christmas Eve. So she can get a hold, because I guess apparently she just doesn't want to wait around for him to die, which seems like it could be like, anytime between, 2 years and tomorrow. I really cannot think of a modern equivalent to her.
No.
And she was still playing these like very like sexually aggressive, I know what I want, I know how to get at characters, like well into her 40s and 50s. Like, I think she was near 60 when she was still playing Alexis Carrington, and you weren't supposed to think that was like weird or gross or anything.
No, she comes from a time in which, if you had a face, right, a striking face, there's no other part of Joan Collins that is fetishized. This just really the dom nature of her professional persona and her striking face and everything else. Like, you're just like, well, she's just beautiful. She's beautiful. She's like a beautiful person. And you hand wave everything else that's associated with her. Whereas so much about our current culture has to do with how fit you are, some sort of exotic body part.
Right, and or on the opposite
things so much higher than back then.
Right, exactly. And you're not seeing, women playing, these characters in their 50s who were still, having like, the 25-year-old lover or whatever. Or if they are, it's like, it's supposed to, be like a sign of their sad decline or something. Right. It's like, isn't it awful? She's taking on these men young enough to be her son as her lover. And, it's like, this is so sad. I'm like, is it? Okay.
Is it sad? Or is she just she's getting done proper, I think.
Right. It's like she finds men her own age boring and too slow for her, Yeah. I mean,
and that's what happens with men of a certain age. They're slow and stupid. This one's particularly slow and stupid. So,
well, he's like 90.
Yeah. I mean, that's the thing. Like, what age anyone is in 1972. He's presented as gray and slow.
Yeah, I mean, he could be like 50.
Right. Yeah. In which case, like, he's not dying fast enough. And she's like, listen, I'm 30. I'm vivacious. I like costume jewelry. I have things to do. I have a child who needs some sort of help from the medical field in order to not kill people with her voice.
I have a child that I look like at some points during this segment where I'm considering maybe killing her too, just for giggles.
I mean, she's like, I can mold her into a man eater, I think is what.
That's true. Yeah, but there are certain points where she's like, she almost forgets that she's there.
Yes. It's really confounding her choice of moment to kill off her husband. There's just not a lot of forethought. But let's set this up a little bit, okay? So this is at a time here in Britain where the and Tales from the Crypt kind of really kicks this off. It's such a success that this becomes a mini industry within the British film scene, which is not as robust as what's happening in Hollywood, but certainly you have plenty of stars to choose from. There's lots of talent to choose from. You have a long tradition of British screenwriters and directors and so forth. But there's not as much money pouring into it. And so they, in the aftermath of the Hammer horror revolution, people are looking for a way to compete on the same space. And so Amicus, a smaller company there, which has kind of taken the Hammer route because you have this insane, pool of British talent to pull from, goes, all right, how can we do horror? Because that's cheaper to do, and obviously it causes a pop at the box office. It's a moneymaker. What's a way we can do this? And they look to old EC comics. And we've kind of discussed this before when it comes to Creep Show. That's their inspiration, but they are taking it directly. They are, there's a whole thing in the front of this, like these stories come from EC Comics and The Vault, and even denoting the major writers at EC Comics at the time. So it's literally saying, this is the source material we're pulling from, and here's how we're interpreting it. And so a group of people is on a tour of an ancient crypt in the countryside of England. And holy shit, you will believe that crypts exist, Gina.
I do believe.
The tour guide can barely walk. He's holding on to every surface along the tour and is constantly asking them, hey, stay together because you can get lost down here. Meanwhile, in the background, someone is going hard as a motherfucker on an organ. Like, Constant. Getting paid by the note on that fucking organ. And the tail end of the tour group is these 5 people. They get lost in a catacomb. 5 people get lost in a catacomb is my favorite start to a street joke. And they are trying to catch up with the rest of the group. They go to a bunch of dead ends. They come so fucking close to lighting their hair on fire in the various prop torches on the wall.
Well, they still had that like kind of, you know, remnants of that big 60s hair. So it was pretty easy to accidentally, you know, scorch a few if you're walking past some like wall sconces.
Yeah. And one passageway, a door slides open and they walk into it, and there's Ralph Richardson with a monk's hood on. And he's like, "Gather round, y'all. I've got a tale to tell." And one of the guys there goes, "I'm in a hurry." Motherfucker, you're on a cemetery tour. You
don't blow through a cemetery.
Right. Like, you signed up, you're wandering around fucking catacombs, and you're like, "Well, I have a call at 2:00. You should have thought about that before you started wandering around fucking catacombs. That is not something that someone does when you have to get somewhere else. Like, you made your choices. Then Ralph Richardson says, "Well, I have some stories to tell you. For example, you, Joan Collins, where do you have to go after this?" And then and they fade into her story.
Turns out I have a very important husband to kill.
Excuse me. Bam. So we immediately go to her insanely white.
It kind of looks like it reminds me of the house of the woman that had the giant penis statue on A Clockwork Orange.
Sure, yeah.
They're very Art Deco, unique to the 60s and early 70s look.
Yes, it's a real confluence of styles, because you have that wild, you know, late 60s mod. Revolution, which is where you get the fireplace machete sort of look, and then some of her decoration choices are just confounding to the point that my brain started to leak out through my nose. The camera starts to pan to the right, and it lands on a obscenely overstuffed frog plush that looks like it's tripping balls.
I mean, you know, haven't you ever? You know, we were both born like when this movie came out. I mean, have you ever looked back and seen pictures of like the toys you had when you were a child? I mean, I had an electric pink stuffed hippo.
But did you pose it next to what I can only claim is a Rastafarian egg? It's an egg with dreads.
I mean, you know what? I grew up in a beachside town. So there was like boardwalks that had like the games run by shifty individuals that would give you a prize if you could knock some milk bottles over the baseball. Yeah. If at that time one of the prizes was an egg with Rasta braids, I would not have been the least bit surprised.
So if you're wondering where that frog got the drugs from, it's definitely that Rastafarian egg. They look like quite a fucking pair. And also they're posed next to a log. Just a fucking log. Just standing upright. Like someone said,
it's like they're supposed to be Christmas decorations.
Yes, but no Christmas anyone has ever celebrated.
You don't know the story of the Christmas Rasta?
Cast your mind back. It's a combination, the opening of John Carpenter's The Fog, where he's like, there was a group of people we shipwrecked and we stole their gold. Anyways, back to bed, kiddos. And A Christmas Story that involves a psychedelic frog and a Rastafarian egg. Yeah. Sure. Why not? So, that's contrasted with what we learn the farther we go into this movie, which is there's no room in this house that is painted the same color. Everything is primarily white with one crazy motherfucking color accent wall, and those accent walls do not go with one another. And then you go into the kitchen and everything is the nuttiest Spanish tile from the craziest ceramic maker. Like he went nuts on peyote, and this is what he made. You know, like, give me 400 square feet of this. I'm going to put it on a wall. Everything is different than the next room, and it's all meant to force you to trip balls regardless of how sober you are.
Yeah, you're just kind of wandering from room to room like Lisa Simpson when she drank from the Duff Gardens water fountain.
Sure.
She's like, ah.
Or Homer Simpson's trip after he goes to the chili cook-off and his tongue touches the one the one pepper that's farmed by mad monks in Argentina or something like that. I can't quite remember how they describe it, but that's the gist of it. But this is where we meet Richard, and he's the kind of husband that a wife would love to kill. He just, every part of him states he kind of sucks. Not an aggressive, hateful sucking, but in a passive, do-nothing sucking.
Well, yeah, I think he's just, he's quote-unquote old, which, yeah, honestly, he could be 50 for all I know. He's just coded as older than her.
Yes. He's undoubtedly has, like, the most boring job in the world.
Yeah, he's probably, like, a solicitor or some shit, but he does love her because we see a close-up of a gift he's going to give her with a tag on it says like, to the best wife in the world or something like that. So, he loves her. She doesn't love him. No. I think she loves the life he provides for her, but that life would be a lot more rich and interesting if he, I don't know, tripped and fell down the fucking stairs and died already like I asked you to. Why can't you do what I ask you to do? Richard pours himself a drink, and it's either molasses or dark rum, but it's not something humans should consume on Christmas Eve. It is road tar.
And then he opens a newspaper that obviously they have, gathered together from other newspapers.
Yeah, it's like put together like a ransom note.
Yeah, it really is. I took a screenshot because thank Tubi, they don't care if you take screenshots. They're like, these movies, just have at them, baby. So here are some of the headlines from this put together newspaper. High Street to have Christmas decorations. That's on the front page, Gina.
On Christmas Eve, which, I would fucking hope by that point.
Youths caught in market chase. Counselor Duet to become Burley mayor.
Burley? Like somebody is built Burley?
No, it's the town of Burley.
Okay.
Now, the other one that I really love is on the back page of, because there's page 1 and there's, page 15 or whatever. And it says, kidnap baby. That's the headline. Kidnap baby. Whatever the rest of
is that a directive?
I don't know. Here's the thing, like when they made the newspaper, the fold, obviously there's some space there, but they did not leave enough space for the actual, contents of those articles on the back page to complete themselves. So it's cut halfway down a graph. So obviously this was never meant for somebody to screen grab, right? No one in the movie theater had time to actually put this shit together, because all this really is a Grand Guignol curtain for blood to splash on it once Joanne, lanes that fireplace machete into his head.
Right, and later to be splashed in what looks like straight up like red craft paint.
Yes, it truly is. When she starts cleaning things up, I thought it looks more like she's cleaning up after a kindergarten finger painting session.
Yeah, this might be like a new fakest blood I've ever seen in anything we've covered.
I do wonder if it was this like, well, this is how Hammer does it, and this is how the Italians do it. So this is how we present blood.
I would assume, yeah, because I mean, you know, if they were trying to make it anywhere near real, like within a few minutes, that shit's turning brown.
It's so fake.
Yeah, she shouldn't be able to scoop it into a glass with a knife. Yeah. And yet somehow that is. It took me a few. I was like, what the hell is she supposed to be doing?
It's got. Here's the thing. Like, I know it was of the time, but I really view this as like the Hammer Italian blood, but also at the same time, like in Hollywood, you do have more realistic blood being shown on screen by 1972. Like Bonnie and Clyde has come out. The Wild Bunch has been released in theaters.
I can only imagine that they're not trying to go for any sense of realism,
right?
Because I mean, it is ultimately based on a comic strip, a comic,
right? And the goal here is to not we do not come to Tales from the Crypt for realism.
No. Just to make it kind of comical to yeah, as you say, it looks like children have been finger painting in her very plush white living room.
And on top of that, her fit is amazeballs. I mean, that she chose this outfit to murder a man with is wow.
Yeah, Madison she gets blood on her hands, not a drop on her clothes anywhere.
How that is possible is I don't know.
She doesn't even get any of that. What do they call it? Splashback when you when you shoot somebody or kill somebody in a way you get your hand or body close to them.
Yeah,
they're gonna be like, you're gonna get a little bit of their blood on you, but nope, not a drop.
And she has zero compunction. Like the couch that he's on is white. The rug in front where he falls is white. There's just zero planning here. Like, that's going to be a lot harder to clean up. She gets blood on that couch immediately. But it just has to be noted, what she is wearing is a channel tuned to the Eye of God psychedelia jumper. I don't even know how to describe it. It looks like waves of electronic data that, you would cross over to another dimension if you looked at it long enough. Combined with a belt that is two decorative silver flames that connect in front. And throughout the movie, she bends over to pick things up to haul him around. And I'm like, that would poke you in the tummy a whole lot.
Oh, yeah.
That could be easy to do, to wear. It's not an outfit meant for murder. She's just like,
no, this is, this sort of feels like both she's been planning it for a while, and at the same time, she's that bucket, let's do it tonight.
Yes. Like she was going, like, I truly wonder if she was just driven to the point where, you know what? I was going to wait another 2 weeks, but tonight's the night, motherfucker. And so she brains him. She kind of enjoys that finally he's dead. She doesn't check that he's dead, by the way.
No, but I love when she moves him to push him down the stairs. He's got the tongue hanging out like a Looney Tunes cartoon. I hope when I go, I'm like that. I would like the tongue hanging out, the X's over the eyes.
Perfect. Yes. Yes, the cartoon birds have finally left. That's how you know it.
Exactly.
So Joanne brains him, and then she searches his pockets while he bleeds out on the fucking white fuzzy carpet.
Yeah, she's like not putting anything under his head to like soak up the blood. They go on this like white carpet.
I know. Oh my God. She would get caught so fucking fast. There's just no story she can come up with why not lure him to the stairs? But of
Well,
course, if she doesn't, some of the things in this movie just won't work.
Well, the funny thing is that there's like a split second where, like, once she finds out that there's a insane asylum escapee on the loose, we'll get to that. He actually is a very small part of the story.
Yes, yeah.
She kind of looks like she's considering, well, maybe I'll let him in, and then I'll claim, that oh, he killed my husband, and then she's like, nah, I better do it this other way instead.
Yeah, this is practically wordless, this particular segment. This is a almost silent movie because, with the exception of some exchanges with her daughter and the radio, most of it, like, you could just put it in black and white or sepia tone and it would play out perfectly without words.
Yeah, she never speaks to the husband. Like, she just, he sits down, has his little, good glass of tar, and she just comes up and, beats him on the head with the machete.
For whatever reason, like, their safe that's hidden behind a picture, it requires a key. Usually that's like a combination. I don't know what the key is for, but she needs the keys. She makes sure that the insurance policy is there. And lo and behold, her fucking kid is at home and awake in bed. Like, this broad has brass balls. Like,
yeah, like, of all the nights you would think that your kid would not be sleeping when they shouldn't be, Christmas Eve would be right at the top of the list.
Yes. The
the downstairs window, the downstairs window shatter.
It's just like, how do they keep any glass in this house? They should all shatter every time she simply wants toast in the morning.
The neighbor's third dog in 6 months is dropped dead.
Carol, the daughter, is her bedroom is a nightmare. We don't get to see most of it.
It's another one of those. No children sleep in here. Bedrooms, no. which we run across numerous times. Yes. Probably most predominantly in the Bionic Woman episode we did.
Christy McNichol's grand office.
Right, where it's like, okay, no children sleep in this room. What are you even doing, production designers?
She's temporarily taken over M's office from the James Bond universe.
Yeah. I mean, just you put a doll or a teddy bear somewhere. Jesus.
Just one poster of a long-haired rock star. That's all we need. But no, we're not giving that. So she's like, hey, go to bed. Santa's not here yet. I'll let you know. And so Joan does not appear to be much of a planner. She's committed this murder in the living room with the windows, just no curtains in front of them at all. And I get it. This is a sleepy English burg. She's not expecting anybody. But also, if you're going to commit murder, again, don't do it. That's my suggestion to you.
Just kind of, if you were thinking about that your life might improve with the death of your spouse, just, get the names of some divorce lawyers.
Yes. Listen, currently, no fault divorce is legal. Just, it's going to be rough. It's going to be difficult, but you should both come out of it alive, especially if you've got a kid involved. And secondly, if that doesn't convince you, please close your fucking blinds, because you're just asking for it.
And don't do it where you have a white carpet.
Yeah, do not. The cleanup will not be as easy as portrayed in 1972's Tales from the Crypt. So, as she's in the middle of her removal of the body from the living room and dragging it towards the door that leads to the cellar, this is her plan. We hear over the radio an announcement. A man described by the radio announcer goes, a man described as a homicidal maniac. Now, Gina, what is that fucking description? Because when you see him, you're like, I don't know. He seems like he needs to wash his face.
Yeah, I was going to say, he's just kind of dirty.
Yeah.
like at least with Larry Drake, he's got the Larry Drake crazy eyes.
Right.
So you can definitely say, okay, this guy's not to be fucked with.
Yeah, he's got a mouthful of carnival teeth. It's a whole look.
Whereas this guy kind of reminds you of like Dan Aykroyd when he's dressed as Santa Claus in Trading Places. Where like maybe at the worst he'll pull a slice of deli ham out from under his beard and eat it right in front of you.
Yeah. So he goes on to say that this described homicidal maniac has escaped from the home for the criminally insane and want to do other criminally insane things good. He's about 6'3", 210 pounds, bald, wearing a Santa outfit. And she doesn't really register it. It's really meant for the audience to hear it. I'm sure none of this information will be relevant at all for the rest of the story. So Joanne's house, once she hears this, she does prepare to a certain degree. She does not close the curtains, but she does bolt her front door. And holy fuck, Gina, her house has more bolts than Usain's house during a reunion. That's a lot of fucking bolts.
That's a gem. You need to be proud of that. Just 6 stars for that one. That is. I know you worry sometimes about how your jokes go down, but that one went down smooth.
It's a little sweaty, but I think it's worth it.
No, not at all.
But it's a lot. I mean, I don't know what they're protecting themselves from, but definitely they are protecting themselves because they're all each individual different types of door bolts.
Right. But at the same time, it's like they're literally entering this countryside. What are they worried about? Like the postman showing up on his bicycle?
I mean, she was so unworried about someone being near the house that she fucking murdered somebody with the curtains open. So, like, how concerned can you actually be here?
But yeah, it's like one of those when you watch like something from the 70s or 80s that takes place in New York, and they have like the deadbolt, the door lock, the chain, the little bar that goes into the floor, and how they have to go through like 5 minutes unlocking everything to let someone in.
Yeah, she lives within the district of Britain that contains Fort Apache, the Bronx.
got some wolfens running around. She's got to look out for her.
Oh, this story would be great with wolfens, but no sooner is this announced on the radio and she's locked the door, that fucking Santa shows up and starts ringing the little bell that he has in his hand, and then knocks on the door and does not wait 2 seconds before he tries the door handle. So that motherfucker wants to find a way in. This is not someone who's just greeting and saying hi. This is, hey, knock, 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 shaking the door back and forth. So it's a good thing she has that many bolts. But also, rude. You don't live here. Come on. Jesus fucking Christ. I know you're quote unquote criminally insane, but I don't know, man. And then he looks in the window, and this is where I've written down for the third time, Joanne, close your fucking curtains.
Yeah, for real. He's just like peeking like, anybody home?
Anybody want to get choked to death? Because I would like to do that. And so Joanne senses that this might be a real problem if her house is being surrounded by a crazed maniac. And so she does what any of us would do. Look for the phone. Good news, Joanne has a phone that looks like a arcade joystick / vibrator.
This phone is incredible. If I ever find something like this in like an antique store, like we don't even have a landline in our house. We haven't had one in years. Everybody just uses their cell phones, but like if I found one, I'm just get a new landline just for that.
It's pretty magical.
And if someone called me, I'd be like, hey, I'm talking to you on the dildo phone.
Ringy dingy dildo phone calling. So Joanne basically dials the British version of 911 and puts her finger in the spoke for the other one. It's like, hold on, wait a second.
She's like, oh wait, I just killed a guy.
I murdered my husband, haven't cleaned it up at all. Perhaps I am not in the position to call the police right now. And so she's like, I don't know, maybe I close the curtains a little bit. Maybe I clean up a
she kind of like, it's very strange how, again, to belabor a point I made earlier, the remake focuses much more on her trying to avoid this Creed Santa Claus killer.
Yeah.
Which is why I forgot the whole thing with her, that she's not, a good person herself. But here, like she is aware of this evil Santa trying to get into her house. So she locks everything up, pulls the curtain down. She's like, well, that takes care of that. Let me get back to the business at hand.
He's bound to wander away.
Yeah, and then she kind of forgets about him for a while.
Well, she's got a lot to fucking do. She has a lot on her plate. And I think some of this comes down to the brevity of the story, right? When you only have, I think it's 15-ish minutes to tell this story, like you got to pack it in. And so it's very clean what happens here. We have a setup where she's committed a murder that she has to make look like an accident. The complication is you have an awake child on Christmas Eve. Again, bad planning. And something you can't control, which is a deranged maniac, or at least that's how he's described by the radio, on the outside. So you got a ticking clock here. And in order to call the police, now she has to cover up for the murder that she thought she would have more time to do, and do all of that under the pressure of, I hope that deranged maniac doesn't get into the house. We do have to very quickly describe what their Christmas tree looks like, which is like a Joshua tree on steroids that they've decorated like Charlie Brown's twig.
It is a sad Christmas tree.
It is.
It looks like it's already caught on fire at least once.
Maybe this is a British thing. They don't have conal firs or whatever, but it looks more like something that makes sense in Bikini Bottom than it does inside of a house.
Like, you don't think with Joanne's decorating style, they'd have one of those like shiny white trees.
And listen, I'll say this for Joanne. She knows how to multitask, because she's like sealing off the house from a homicidal maniac. She's monitoring her child. She's tossing her dead husband down the cellar stairs. She's gathering blood into a goblet with a motherfucking bread knife.
That's crazy. Like, it took me a few. I'm like, what the hell is he doing?
It doesn't make rational sense. Like, in her head, this is the easiest way to gather blood. And you're like, why? All you're doing is smearing it across the white carpet. There's no way on earth you would be able to clean. But this is the movies. And so she cleans it up just fine. I don't know how you get blood out of white fur, but fine.
Yeah, come on, in real life that shit's already dried into there. You're gonna need like a steam cleaner for that shit.
And so some sort of part of her, now that she's washed her hands and gotten rid of the new blood-covered newspaper, like everything is in its right place. She delicately ladles some blood onto the cellar floor, so it makes it look like he tripped down the stairs. So she comes upstairs. She's like, okay, wait a second. Carol? And she goes upstairs. The outside of Carol's bedroom looks like it's sponsored by Trix based on the color pattern. It's just pink, purple, and teal in a way that's meant to drive you slowly insane. Of course, Carol is not there. She is downstairs, and she's let Santa, in quotes, in, and immediately goes about murdering Joanne.
Yeah, I love that basically all Carol, and again, Carol is not a tiny child. She's probably about 8 or 9, and apparently only recognizes Santa by the fact, okay, red hat, boots, beard. Right. Because she lets this Philistine gentleman into her house saying, hey, you've got to be Santa.
The suit says everything. And no other part of your visage communicates Santa except for the suit. And he's like, murder. Yes, that's like ho ho ho. Come into my house.
Kill mommy. Yeah, come on. You got presents
kill
for
mommy,
me?
kill daddy, kill me, whatever. As long as you leave presents, I've got cookies out for you, you weird homunculi. And so, unlike the HBO version, there's no cat and mouse to this. The guy's let into the house. 2 seconds later, he's on her.
No, she just kind of does a whole tripping, and suddenly she can't get up again, and then it looks like it takes about 20 seconds to strangle her to death
from behind. This is the honest part of this.
It's like he's giving her a massage.
Exactly. Oh, Jesus Christ, Gina, you read my mind again. He's massaging her to death via shoulders.
And just collapses and it's over.
It feels too good. I'm dead.
It's like he gave the Vulcan neck pinch or something.
Right. Yes. Yeah. He's cut off a vital nerve pathway or something like that. There's no. It certainly doesn't feel like he's, not allowing her to breathe oxygen, but whatever. And she's holding on to that fucking fireplace machete. All she has to do is reverse and crank him in the head, and she'd be in the clear. But no, that's not the point of this. We do not come to Tales from the Crypt to learn about how to successfully murder your husband.
Basically, what we're saying is that the remake's a lot better.
Well, I think they're telling the same story two different kinds of ways. I think this is really effective for 15 minutes.
It is. Yeah. It's a good suspense thriller. Not so good for as straight horror.
No, and it has less time because that HBO one is, if not twice as long, it might even be 3 times as long. It might be 45 minutes if I'm remembering correctly, but it's at least a half an hour. And so if you're going to have that much more time, you have to build in more things to this. Whereas as it's presented in the 1972 version, it has a simple story to tell, and it tells it in an economic fashion. And when he reaches in through the gates of the back door, I jumped.
No, that's it's what it does well. I just think as you say, they take two very different approaches to the same story.
Right. That one is telling a Hollywood version of that. In an era of action movies, you have an action movie director, making it. He's trying to both shock you and ratchet up the tension and find ways to complicate her journey. And it's more of a cat and mouse. And there's a lot more going on to it because you have more runway. Here, it's a very simple A to B to C story. And it is told in a great way. I was watching it. Becky was on the couch doing something else, and I literally leapt out of my chair when the Santa reaches in through the gate. It just fucking got me. So this is one of my favorites. Like, this made me love horror when I watched it as a kid.
Yeah, see, I think this is the first time I saw this version. I was much more familiar with the Tales from the Crypt version. In fact, when you said, let's do that, that's what I thought you were talking about. And then you mentioned it on Blue Sky that you're like, oh, he means the other one. Okay. Which is fine. I mean, I enjoyed it.
Yeah.
But it's interesting that this was the first one you saw, whereas my mind always immediately goes to the 89 version.
Well, this is so, it ended up on television. Like, you could show this without editing it too much because it's hiding the weenie so much on the gore and whatnot.
And the gore looks so fake that it's like, I mean, it's almost comical.
I think this is fucking PG. That's how.
Oh, yeah.
But it would be interesting if down the line we covered that HBO version. I just don't know where to find it because
I think that one is on. I think I did stumble across that on YouTube, but I had some other ones that I prefer more.
Yeah,
like the one with Amanda Flummer, which is burned into my brain forever. I love that one so much. Where you get to see her be an axe murderer like she's always meant to be. Yeah,
that she's only been twice. She needs to be an axe murderer.
Like chasing her newlywed husband around with an axe while she's in wedding night lingerie.
Yeah, and there's that one where the guy can't die and he makes himself like a carnival act.
Oh, the one with what's his face? William Sadler.
Yes,
that's a good one too. Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, the problem there is like, they're not as available because it's like legally dubious. It's
Yeah,
got
yeah.
a problem in terms of.
And of
not
course,
only-
we'd see you on HBO Max because HBO Max is run by a motherfucker now. So
Yes, sure. Yeah. Even if they had found a way to put it on HBO Max, I'm sure he would have axed it out of pure spite because of fucking idiot. So let's choose our own death venture. That's where we decide of the deaths presented in this segment. If we were forced to die that way, which one would we choose and why? Here we go. We have two binary choice. You can either have your head split open by a fireplace machete, or you can be strangled from behind by a dirty Santa. Gina, I choose you to go first.
well, yeah, honestly, I am always kind of tense in the neck and shoulder area, so I never don't need a massage.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I really love that whole, dying with my tongue hanging out like a Bugs
Sure.
Bunny who just had, after having an anvil dropped on my head or something.
Yeah.
So I think I'm actually going to take it hit the head with a fireplace machete.
He goes so fast.
He does,
It looks-
and he doesn't, he doesn't see it coming, so he doesn't know that it's his wife who did it. So it's he died peacefully with his little glass, his glass of fudge.
alcoholic fudge. Yeah, that's the way to go. Reading the newspaper, drinking liquid alcoholic chocolate. I can't think of a better way to go. As much as I need a massage, I don't want it from a dirty Santa. So that works there. Gina, where can people find and hear and read more from you on these here internets?
I write about television and movies at thespool.net. I also have a newsletter in which I write about movies at GinaWatchesThings.substack.com. I am on Blue Sky now for however long that lasts. That's also under Gina Does Things.
Yeah. We're on Threads now. I don't know how much I'm going to participate. When the first thread that I saw was from Ellen DeGeneres, and I thought, I know what this is for now. It's
for brands.
It's for brands and celebrities who do not want to be sandwiched next to white supremacists. And I get that. I don't either. So that's fine. I don't know how long I think Threads will last simply because it's connected to Meta. But again, not a company I would go to when it comes to content moderation. They have a bit of a history there. So listen, find us on our Facebook group. We have lots of fun over there. We're on Instagram. We're on Blue Sky. We're on Spoutable. I don't really go there, but we're on. You can reach out to us in any of those ways. Go to joshhalls.com. He makes all of our artwork. Go to Revenge Body Memphis at bandcamp.com. You can get this theme and more. And he's been part of he did a live show in Memphis where they re-recorded live the Halloween 3 soundtrack. And it is so fucking good, Gina. Oh my God.
I haven't had a chance to listen to it yet, but
it is fucking great. Like it's different, but really evokes what that movie is. And I can't give it up enough. Like everyone should be listening to this. You pay what you feel, but they put some time and effort to it. And they have two different versions. One of them is just like a straight album. The other one is the actual soundtrack you can sync up with the movie. So lots of good stuff coming from Revenge Body. We love him very much. And of course, we have our Patreon where we're doing fun things like commentaries of Friday the 13th movies. We have Chat by Chat where we answer your questions, and listener's choice this month was Warlock 2, The Armageddon. So check that out. Of course, don't worry, folks, because the body count will continue for myself and for Gina. Bye-bye, everybody.
bye.